June, and I'm here with Reverend Betty Tatalajski, the founder of the Temple of Universality, which is a spiritualist church here in Tucson. Now, what we're going to talk about today is where the spiritualist movement came from, because it did have a beginning, and it just occurred to me it was like the splitting of an atom, because when mankind split the atom, many things became possible that were not possible before.
Truly.
Now, what we did with that atom, we turned into a weapon of mass destruction, of incredible power that is, it's just phenomenal. But what happened with spiritualism was an event that I consider no less, not even no, far more important.
Right.
And what it's done is opened up a world and a vista we never even knew existed. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so here it goes.
Well, I think it's sort of like Columbus discovering America and proving that the Earth is not flat.
Okay.
It's we still have a lot of flat earthers here.
It looks flat to me, Betty.
But our intention is to change that.
Okay.
And we do it because we love to do it.
Yes.
Because you are responsible to the degree of your awareness, Spirit tells us. And so we're aware that the Earth is round and that the Earth, we're all, privy to all information. And we demonstrate Spirit. We speak with Spirit. And we just want people to know that there is no limitation. Just like Jesus said, all things are possible. And so we're celebrating that day, March 31st, 1848, with the renting of the veil. Now, that veil has always been thin for some people. There have always been some people on the earth plane who were more aware and smarter than others. People like Socrates, when he talked to me, and I have it on tape, and told me, he said, well, you can talk to me anytime. And what he was doing was thanking me for the Wednesday fun day where we were reading from his book. And so he says, now you reach me, we communicate, but he says, come, and he says, you can meditate, and I'll take you to the ones I work with, people that you have never heard of. So we're limited only by our ability to allow ourselves to move higher and higher into levels of consciousness. We're so fortunate
Betty, it seems to me it's like we're in a box.
We're in a box.
Okay, but it is a box, and there's an outside of the box.
Yes.
But
truly.
When we're in the box,
Truly.
we don't see the outside.
No.
We're in the box, okay? So our experience is confined to what we see, hear, feel, and touch in the box.
In the box.
And what everybody says is happening in the box.
Right.
Now, what you call renting the veil
Right.
was a hole got popped into that box.
Right.
Okay? Somebody
Right.
broke it open.
And I decided to tear the side down.
Oh, you really did. See, this is what I want to tell our audience. There are a lot of people who they have a psychic experience. They hear something, and it's not, and I want to, and I know you'll concur with me on this, that the psychic experience, which is the experience of outside the box,
right,
is like in the box. It has to be controlled.
Right.
You have to be careful, and you can't be a fool.
Right.
If you're a fool in the box, you will pay the price.
That's true.
If you're a fool outside the box, you will pay the price.
Right.
And so a lot of people, when they mess around with Ouija boards or voices,
you don't want to do that.
You're going to attract the lowest, because what comes to you are people who want to hear it. Now,
who come on your frequency.
To get in.
That's right.
Just to get in.
That's right.
But the amazing thing about Reverend Betty Tatalajski, about people who have gone and been introduced to what we call outside the box, is that it had a profound effect on you.
Oh,
more than most people, Betty. You've been with a lot of people. You've brought a lot of people back to Camp Chesterfield to witness the same demonstrations that you witnessed. Seances, speaking with masters,
materialization of their relatives, and their teachers.
Yes, and you've seen it.
Relatives, yes.
Okay, over the past, since 1980.
Well, 32 years.
32 years.
33 this year.
Yes, used to take people back to this spiritualist community, and they used to experience this absolutely stunning phenomenon.
Absolutely. That's the only way to know.
Yes.
They can't know because I tell them.
No.
That's a belief system.
Yes. It's like hearing somebody said they were on Venus.
Yeah.
You go,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But would you like to go to Venus?
Now, what happens when you say that to people? Okay. Not a lot of people took you up on it.
They start choking.
They start choking, all right? Now, not a lot of people took you up on it. And the ones who did take you up on it
went,
but not all of them kept coming.
No.
Because some people, it's so scary that there's no box that they'd rather put the lid, the sides, and the front and back door back on.
Absolutely.
And you've seen it happen.
Absolutely.
Now, Reverend Betty Tatalajski, instead of just accepting that there's outside of a box, decided to tell people about it.
Yes.
And that's what you've done. You've dedicated basically your life towards telling people there's no box.
Well, you know you like to have people happy. It's like a kid comes up. You want to give them an ice cream cone. You want to make them feel good. Well, I want to give them ice cream cone too, but I want to give them something more lasting that will change their lives forever. And not just their life, it changes their future. Because a lot of people do not understand that this lifetime, whether you're here for 6 months or 106, it's only a blip. It's only a blip in your life, because since you were created, you were not born, and since you will never die, you're going to experience many, many, many lives, that we call them. And so, you know, like St. Paul says, I would not have you ignorant.
All right. Now, before that box, you got outside the box, this was not how you thought, was it?
Are you kidding? Well, all I knew about was sin.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
I mean, even to this day, there are churches I could go to and into, and people would say, "Well, you are a sinner."
Okay.
You know.
All right. So you had a very well-defined box.
Absolutely.
Southern Baptist, moved a little opening towards Catholicism.
Love it.
Okay. Love the spirituality of it. And then when the lid came off, you went into an area, and this is really what I want to convey to the people. When Reverend Betty Tatalajski talks about how spirituality can change your life, it's because it changed hers.
That's right.
The box came off, and it wasn't just the experience of phenomena. It wasn't just seeing things that you wouldn't otherwise believe.
No.
It was because your life took on a meaning and a perspective it never had before.
And it gets better every day.
Okay.
Even... well, people say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me too, that the worst day that I have now is better than the best day I ever had before.
Yes. Okay.
And everybody that I know that is aware that they are spirit and evolving spirit agree with that.
Yes. And you know what it is? And I think the reason why that's true is that in all our lives, I don't care if you're an atheist or a believer, the greatest fear that you have is the fear of death.
Right.
All right? I don't care if you are a Bible-thumping fundamentalist.
Right.
All right? A reified Anglican.
Right.
All right? A devout Jew who keeps the law. All right?
That's right.
Or an absolutely convinced atheist that this is it.
Well, there are a lot of people, like you included these people, we're talking about fear of death. Now, there are so many people out here who want to die because they cannot stand their life
as it is. Absolutely.
And the thing about that
the pain is so great.
We want them to know, honey, you cannot. You
cannot die.
Anything you want, cyanide, a gun, but you will not die. You will be just very sorry.
Yes. Yes,
sorry.
That you didn't know.
That you didn't know.
Yes, and I think this is exactly what transformed you.
That's the pathetic part about it.
But what transformed you and your life was when you went and into this little spiritualist church.
Tiny little church.
And all of a sudden these things started happening that you couldn't believe.
No.
You could not believe them. They ran totally contrary to everything you had ever experienced in your life.
So I have this insatiable curiosity. Who are you? Where did you come from? And what is this?
You know, Betty, weren't those the exact words I asked you when we went out to breakfast?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Where are you coming from?
How did you
That's
get here, and what are you doing?
Exactly. But, the vista is broader all the time. You will never, that's the thing about it, you'll never be bored because you cannot absorb it all.
Yeah.
But these levels of consciousness that you can move into, it's, I'm just awestruck.
Yep.
That's the difference between me and a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm awestruck.
Yes. I want to tell a story here. This is off purpose, but I want to tell a story here. If you've been watching this program, a couple programs ago, we were talking about healing.
Healing.
All right?
Yeah.
And so I asked Betty about healing, and she tells this story. All right? And it's this incredible story. She had gone to, there was a big conference in India. What year was this, Betty?
81.
In 81. Big conference in India, all right? And I knew some of the people there. There were big names.
Oh, absolutely.
All right?
The biggest,
Stanislav,
the
big
biggest
names.
names.
Consciousness.
Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama.
Mother Teresa.
Yes, big names, all right? So here's Betty Tatalajski, at that time not a reverend,
No,
all right? But
no.
walking into this world, all right?
Right.
And she attends this conference in India, and somehow she hears that there's this lady coming who's a healer.
Who is a healer.
All right. And so she's not on the program,
No.
all right? Not at all,
No.
all right? And you are invited to witness.
To that hotel
To that
room.
hotel room, okay? And not very many people were.
No.
Most of the people in the hotel room were there to get healed.
Yes.
All right. Now, you had this curiosity. You were being led.
Spirit made it possible.
And Spirit made it possible. So I just want you to tell again, because the story bears repeating, what happened when you went in that room?
This beautiful woman came in. Just one of the most beautiful women I've seen. She had the black hair, and the beautiful face of an Indian, and her white cotton sari. And she comes in carrying a plastic bucket, and she has someone go and fill it with water. And she has laid out a blanket on the floor. And when they bring the water in, she has the first person sitting on the floor, and she just reaches over, pulls that long hair out of the way, reaches.
How old is she, Betty, at this?
Well, she must have been about 30,
Okay.
maybe 35.
Okay, all right.
And she reaches over in the water and puts her hand in it, and she closes one nostril, because one's the moon, one's the sun, and she's opening the sun.
Okay.
Okay, the fire.
Okay.
So she pushes like this. She goes over, puts her hand in it, and she starts breathing in and out with a solar nostril.
Okay.
The electricity in the water, the fire hits the water and shoots it about this high.
Okay, and you're
right
just
out of
watching
the
this.
I'm watching her.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you're right.
and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Except that I've seen so many unbelievable
Little things, yeah.
And so she does that. She activates the water.
Yeah.
And then she has the first person sit there, and she takes her hand and she runs it about 6-8 inches over, and that's how she determined what was wrong. Okay. Well, if there was anything wrong with you, her hand would go like this, and immediately she would know what was wrong with you. So she would just reach in there, get her water, rub it on you, and heal you. Okay.
All right. So you're watching this.
I was watching this. Everybody get healed.
All
okay?
right. Okay.
Until the man came in
Okay.
that they carried on a blanket.
On a blanket.
He had come to the conference. He was scheduled for a quadruple bypass.
And he was from New York, wasn't he?
He was from New York, and
Why'd they bring him in on a blanket?
because he couldn't walk.
Okay.
He couldn't walk. He had not been to anything there at the conference.
Okay.
He couldn't get out of bed.
Okay.
He was a very young man, too.
Okay.
So there's 4 guys, they carry him and they lay him down
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
You know the rest of the story.
I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again.
So he's lying there because he can't even sit up, So she gets him up, and she runs her hand down him, like she says.
Yeah.
And then she runs her hand down the back. She says, "You're perfect. There's nothing wrong with you." Well, now, for a lot of folks, that would have been the end of her credibility.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, right.
But I knew that she was speaking the absolute truth.
True. Yeah, she was connected.
So she sets him up.
Yeah.
you know, and he's trying to say,
Yeah,
you know, I'm trying to.
I'm trying to lie down.
Right,
Yeah, I
I'm
can't get
facing
up.
death.
Yeah.
I can't even
Don't
walk.
make me push. Don't push me up.
No.
You're gonna kill me.
Right. But she does. She
Okay.
sets him up.
Okay.
She does it again.
Yeah.
Her hand doesn't do anything,
Yeah.
okay?
Doesn't vibrate.
Nothing wrong with you. So like this, and she's kneeling down beside him. She touches him on the shoulder like this, and she says, "You've got a pinched nerve."
Okay.
She said, "But I can fix it." So she puts her hand in the water. She said, "No, you're well now. There's nothing wrong with you." And he's going, you know.
Right.
And she says, "Well, you know, we'll do this again tomorrow."
Okay.
She says, "You're perfectly fine, but we'll do it tomorrow and make you feel better, okay?"
Okay. What happens?
Well, he was totally well.
Did he get up?
But he kept, but he kept telling her, "Well, I'm scheduled for this quadruple."
Yeah.
And she says, "But there's nothing wrong with you." So he got up and he was well.
Did he walk out?
Yes.
On his own power?
Oh, yes. He walked out. There was nothing wrong with him. The power of the mind.
Yes. She knew.
So many surgeons had told him, 4 years, your health is bad, your heart is bad, you know, you're going to die. And at that time, there were a lot of hearts available and heart surgery to replace them.
Yes.
That was it. You got one, okay?
All right.
So
you see this happening.
Absolutely.
And years later, you're in a bookstore. Okay.
And there's this book, and it's about this size. It's about 8.5 by 11, one of those floppy books, you know. And so I know they haven't made a whole lot of copies of it, but it says Sri Chakravarti by this young man who experienced it, that I watched the experience of. I was so thrilled because you are responsible to the degree of your awareness.
Yes.
And for this young man to take the time to tell the world, and of course the world hasn't seen the book.
And wouldn't believe it.
And wouldn't believe it, but I was
You were there.
I saw it, and what I liked was later when I said to her, "Who does that healing?"
Yeah.
And she says, "What?" I said, "The person that's doing, you know, the spirit, the person, deceased person that's doing the healing from you, through you."
Now you asked this because you're a spiritualist.
Well, yes.
And because you knew about the other side.
She said, she looks at me and she says, "You're the first person to ever ask me that." I said, "Well, it was the first thing I thought about. Who's doing the work?" And so she told me, she says, "You know this Swami dun 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 dun." I said, "Well, yeah, I've heard about him. I think he died about 300 years ago." And
that's right.
she said, "Well, that's who does it."
Okay.
But again, you know, he also taught her the mudras, you know.
Yeah.
But all she does is like that.
Yes.
Whenever it's you know, it's like it should have gone like
Yes,
this.
and it didn't.
Perfect.
So she knew he wasn't good. Then there was nothing wrong with him. Then she did find the pinched nerve.
Found a pinched nerve.
Now.
This makes you feel better.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Now, for those of you who saw this program a couple of times ago, I was sitting here and she tells me this story, just like she told it to you. And Martha and I decide, well, this is a fascinating, another one of Reverend Betty Tatalajski's stories. Let's see if we can run this book down, okay? So we sat there and we go home, we Google it, okay? We're going to try and find this thing, okay? And all we had was the name Chakravarti. We didn't know how to spell it. Shri, usually it's S-H-R-I, and couldn't find it. All right, Chakravarti. We're going. Okay, maybe it's C-S-H or so. We bump
you
around.
Didn't think about the easy thing.
Chakra. Yeah, like chakras. Okay, so then we found it. All right, and not only did we sort of find it with the name Chakravarti, but the Shri was not the S-R-I as is usual. It was S-H-R-E-E.
Right.
But big deal. We don't know the difference.
But you persisted.
But we persisted. We Google it. And boom, there it is on the computer, Sri Chakravarti being interviewed by a friend of ours, Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove, who I've known since 1971, who had a program on PBS entitled Thinking Aloud, in which he would interview all these people. And there's Sri Chakravarti with Dr. Mishlove, Jeffrey, my friend, interviewing her about her healing. So
well, that gave me a little credibility.
Well, it did in my eyes. All right, and that's what I wanted to
in your eyes.
In my eyes. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell the folks here. as astounding as this is, I want to tell you, Betty did not believe this stuff when it first started happening to her either.
Well, it's unbelievable.
It's because it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, okay?
I had to get over the guilt of traditional religion.
Yes.
To even,
Let this in.
because I kept thinking, my God, I'm going to be struck dead,
Yes,
you know?
yes, yes, yeah. And so when I ran into Betty and Betty starts telling these things, I mean, my feeling was this. Either this woman was lying or she was telling the truth. Now, I've had a lot of experiences myself, but if you haven't had the experience of these, you tend to disbelieve it.
Well, really.
Just like you disbelieved it when you first started going.
You know, I was speechless.
Yeah.
But I knew the people, you know, the people were wonderful and kind and
Yes.
all of this. And so, I mean, I am just as curious right now and insatiably searching as I was the first day.
Sure.
It never lessens. It gets sharper all the time.
Yes.
My intention becomes
Yes.
stronger all the time.
Yes. Now, I want to say, it was like Betty went to Venus, she came back, and she became starstruck.
Right.
All right?
That's a good way to put it.
Okay. So she comes back to Tucson and tells other people about this trip to Venus.
And Spirit sent the people from
Okay.
around the world.
Yes.
Not necessarily local folks.
Yes.
You know.
To go. Now, some went, and some came back starstruck.
Right.
Others came back and said, well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to stay on Earth.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, now,
Yes.
and they did.
Yeah.
Now, for the few who went and stayed and kept going back to Venus, it transformed their lives just like it transformed yours.
Right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to say about
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. That's what I want to say about the Temple of Universality. All right? And that's what I want to say about this program. Because it was just like when I ran into the Temple of Universality, when I ran into Reverend Betty Tatalajski and started hearing these stories, all right? And the confirmation came in many, many different ways. It wasn't just listening to you. It was because Spirit has a way of knocking down the barrier. If it's your time, you are
getting it all around.
Yes, it's going to come and inundate you. And I think, Betty, that's what it is. For some people, it's not time.
Because you had good intention.
I was open.
You wanted to know.
I wanted to know. I wanted to know. And the truth of this, of this, as astounding as it is, that there is no death.
Right.
Confirming that the universe itself holds each of us dearly, no matter.
And equally.
And equally. No one is better than the other.
No.
All right? And to have this knowledge come at us in a context of pain,
Right.
fear, judgment, and guilt. Now, you could say, friends, that we have leapt for this out of desperation. Perhaps.
We fell into it.
We fell into it.
We fell into Wonderland.
Yes, and it was.
I fell into Wonderland.
And we came along later and followed you.
And I came, and I'm telling other folks, you want to go into Wonderland?
Yes.
You know? Why not?
Why not? 11 o'clock every Sunday at the Temple of Universality, the corner of Prince and Country Club. The Temple of Universality holds its service. We have messages from the other side. And if I go there because I want to hear your stories.
And tonight we're going to
a
talk
trance circle.
directly
To
from
a seance.
Reverend Christine
Facchetti,
Facchetti, one of the best mediums anywhere.
Anywhere.
So, you know, if you're curious at all, you know, just ask. Just what Jesus said, ask.
Yeah.
And it'll be given.
Yes.
You have good intention. You want to ask.
Yeah.
It may not be your thing. Maybe you want to stay in the box,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Earth is very
That's all
familiar.
right.
Yeah. Because someday it will happen in another way, but it will happen. So, folks, here we are, extending the invitation to the willing and curious.
Come to the temple. It's very simple.